Imagine walking along the golden sands of Mermaid Beach, where the ocean breeze carries the scent of salt and the sound of crashing waves provides a constant rhythm. You look up at the architectural marvels lining Hedges Avenue, the legendary stretch known as Millionaire's Row. One particular mansion, a sprawling beachfront estate featuring floor-to-ceiling glass, recently changed hands in a deal that shocked the industry. But if you were looking for a for sale sign, you would have been disappointed. There were no glossy brochures, no drone videos, and absolutely no listing on the major portals. Yet the property sold for a staggering $20 million. This wasn't a secret, it was a quiet listing. To the public, it never existed. To the insider, it was the opportunity of a lifetime. This transaction represents the invisible side of the Gold Coast property market, a parallel universe where the most prestigious addresses move silently from one hand to another. This world is known by many names: off-market listings, pocket listings, or quiet listings. In an era where we are conditioned to believe that everything worth buying is just a click away on a smartphone, the concept of a hidden market feels almost subversive. It is the shadowy side of real estate where the most desirable homes exist in a state of digital invisibility, protected by the gatekeeper agents who control the flow of information to their most trusted clients. These homes are traded in private exchanges far away from the prying eyes of tire kickers and nosy neighbors who just want to browse. You might think these secret sales are rare anomalies, but the data tells a different story. Industry experts estimate that between 10 and 30% of all luxury transactions on the Gold Coast never reach public portals like realestate.com.au or Domain. In exclusive pockets like the Sovereign Islands or the penthouses of Main Beach, that percentage can climb even higher. This means that if you are only searching on major websites, you are effectively blindfolded to nearly a third of the market. You are fighting over the scraps left behind after the insiders have already taken their pick. The public market thrives on the frenzy of competition, but the quiet listing thrives on the precision of the perfect match, governed not by algorithms, but by deep personal relationships and the agent's black book. For the average buyer, these properties are ghosts. But for the insider, they represent the ultimate value proposition and level of exclusivity. In a market defined by low stock, visibility is actually your greatest enemy. When a property is listed publicly, you are competing with the entire world, and prices are driven up by the emotional heat of the auction room. But when you step into the world of quiet listings, you gain the chance to negotiate in a calm, controlled environment. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This strategic advantage is why many off-market deals involve a professional buyer's advocate who knows how to navigate the digital underworld of private WhatsApp groups and internal agency vaults that often precede any kind of public listing. Currently, the Gold Coast is experiencing a high-demand, low-stock seller's market that makes quiet listings more relevant than ever. There has been a significant shift toward private treaty sales as owners seek to avoid the circus of public marketing and the stigma of a home sitting too long on the market. In prestige areas like Albatross Avenue or the lush hinterland retreats of Talabajara, the dark pool of real estate is expanding, sellers choosing discretion over exposure, and buyers are realizing that to find the true Gold Coast dream home, they must look beyond the glowing screen. The market is evolving into a game of who you know, not just what you see, where the most valuable assets are traded in whispers rather than shouts, setting the stage for a new era of coastal property investment. To understand the allure of the quiet listing, one must first peer into the mind of the private seller. For the high net worth individuals who own the grand estates on Albatross Avenue or the secluded hinterland retreats of Talabajara, privacy is not just a preference, it is a vital currency. These owners are often public figures, executives, or international celebrities whose every move is scrutinized. The last thing they want is a sign inviting strangers inside. By choosing a quiet listing, they maintain total control over their domestic sanctuary. They avoid the intrusive gaze of photographers and the digital trail that persists long after the sale is finalized. In the world of extreme wealth, discretion is the ultimate luxury, and the gatekeeper agent understands that keeping a client's business out of the headlines is just as important as the final sale price. Beyond the desire for anonymity lies a tactical motivation, the ability to test the waters without consequence. In the public market, days on market is a metric that acts as a ticking time bomb. If a luxury property on the Sovereign Islands sits on a public portal for 60 or 90 days without a sale, a narrative of failure begins to form. Buyers start asking what is wrong with the property, and the leverage shifts away from the seller. However, a quiet listing operates outside this temporal pressure. A seller can list their property at a premium within the agent's internal vault. If the market doesn't respond, the owner can simply wait or adjust their expectations without the public ever knowing there was disinterest. It allows for a price check in a vacuum, ensuring that when the property does eventually go public, it retains its freshness and prestige. This strategy also serves as a sophisticated filter for what the industry calls tire kickers. Anyone who has ever listed a home knows the frustration of open houses, the parade of nosy neighbors, casual browsers, and people who simply enjoy browsing with no intention or financial capacity to buy. For the insider buyer, these crowds are a nuisance. For the private seller, they are a security risk and a waste of time. A quiet listing ensures that only qualified, finance-ready individuals are granted access. The gatekeeper agent acts as a firewall, vetting every potential viewer through background checks and proof of funds. When the doorbell rings at a quiet listing, the person on the other side isn't there to admire the decor. They are there with a genuine intent to purchase and the capital to make it happen. There is also the pragmatic matter of cost efficiency. Publicly marketing a high-end Gold Coast property is an expensive endeavor. Between professional videography, drone shots, social media campaigns, and placements on portals, a seller can easily find themselves spending tens of thousands of dollars before a single offer is made. For some, this investment is necessary to drum up competition, but for many, it feels like an unnecessary gamble. If a gatekeeper agent already has a black book filled with eager buyers who have been waiting for a specific type of penthouse in Main Beach, why spend $50,000 on advertising to find a buyer who is already standing right in front of you? By selling off-market, the owner saves on these upfront costs, often reflecting that saving in the final negotiation with the insider buyer. In the broader financial world, there is a concept known as dark pools, private exchanges where institutional investors trade volumes of securities away from public eyes to prevent price fluctuations. The Gold Coast quiet listing market operates on a remarkably similar principle. When a $20 million home on Hedges Avenue is sold publicly, it sets a benchmark that can send ripples through the entire suburb, sometimes causing panic or artificial inflation. By keeping these transactions in a private sphere, the market maintains a sense of stability. It prevents the volatility that comes from emotional public bidding wars and allows for a more rational, calculated exchange of assets. This dark pool of real estate ensures that the most valuable pieces of the Gold Coast are moved with the precision of a chess match rather than the chaos of a street fair. Navigating this private exchange requires a different set of skills than traditional house hunting. This is where the buyer's advocate becomes an essential ally for the insider buyer. While the public market is shouting through loudspeakers, the advocate is listening to the whispers. They are participating in exclusive WhatsApp groups and maintaining daily contact with the gatekeeper agents. Their job is to find the invisible stock before it ever has a chance to be burned by public exposure. They understand that the best opportunities don't come to those who wait for a notification on their phone, but to those who have built a reputation for being serious, discreet, and ready to act. In this high-stakes environment, the relationship between the advocate and the agent is the bridge that connects the private seller's need for discretion with the insider buyer's quest for exclusivity. To find where these whispers are loudest, one must look at the specific geography of prestige that defines the Gold Coast. The dark pool of real estate isn't spread evenly across the coastline. It pools in specific, highly sought-after pockets where the stakes are highest and the residents are most protective of their peace. Take the Sovereign Islands, for instance. This gated community is a fortress of luxury where every home looks out over the water, and the very design of the precinct screams exclusivity. Here, a quiet listing is more than a strategy, it is the standard. When a grand estate changes hands on the islands, it often happens through private calls from the gatekeeper agent to a select few who have already proven they belong in such a zip code. The public never sees the marble foyers or the moorings until the new owner is already moving in their art collection. Move further south to the vertical villages of Main Beach. The penthouses here are legendary, offering panoramic views of the Pacific and the Broadwater. For the elite who inhabit these glass towers, the idea of an open home is anathema. They value the sanctity of their elevator access and the anonymity of their lobbies. Many significant sales in Main Beach occur off-market. Meanwhile, in the lush hinterland of Talabujera, the motivation for a quiet listing shifts from social status to physical seclusion. These are retreats, hidden behind long, winding driveways and thick canopies of green. The private seller here isn't just selling a house, they are selling a sanctuary. They choose the invisible market because they want to ensure that whoever replaces them values the silence as much as they do. There is the magnetism of Hedges Avenue and Albatross Avenue, known as Millionaire's Row. In these beachfront strips, the dynamics are intensely social and rooted in a tight-knit community of high achievers. Here, the handshake deal is the gold standard. Owners on Hedges Avenue are often long-term residents who have watched the coastline transform over decades. When they decide to move on, they prefer a discreet transition, often selling to a friend of a neighbour or a fellow club member who has expressed interest over a casual coffee. The gatekeeper agent in these areas acts less like a salesman and more like a matchmaker, facilitating these quiet handshakes that bypass the noise of the public auction floor. Reputation is everything, and the most prestigious addresses are traded with a level of decorum that the public market cannot replicate. This preference for discretion is further fueled by the Gold Coast's unique resort lifestyle, attracting a growing number of international buyers. For a high net worth individual flying in from Singapore or London, the public spectacle of an Australian auction can feel jarring and overly exposed. They are looking for a seamless private acquisition, and they want to fly in, view the property under the radar, and sign the contracts without their names appearing in the local news. The quiet listing market caters perfectly to this global elite, offering a concierge-style service that respects their need for confidentiality. This ensures that even when the broader market cools, the demand for off-market prestige on the Gold Coast remains white-hot. The current market cycle only reinforces this behaviour. In a seller's market with high demand and low stock, the traditional rules of engagement are rewritten. A gatekeeper agent with a prime listing in Mermaid Beach doesn't need to spend on marketing because their database is already bulging with 50 or more finance-ready buyers who have been waiting for months for something to become available. Why would the agent deal with the logistics of 300 people at an open home when they can call 3 targeted insiders and achieve the same price with zero public friction? This efficiency stems from the modern real estate landscape, where data is the most valuable asset an agent possesses. To see the power of this system in action, look at a recent case study in Burleigh Heads. It involved a silent renovation flip, a tired beachfront cottage acquired off-market by a developer who saw potential where others saw ruin. Using a buyer's advocate, a new purchaser was identified while the final coat of paint was still drying in the master suite. The property sold for a massive profit before it ever had a chance to reach a public portal. This flip is proof that in the Gold Coast's most coveted suburbs, the best deals aren't found by refreshing browsers, but by understanding the true and very lucrative rhythm of the hidden and highly exclusive market. If the dark pool is the ocean, then the gatekeeper agents are the lighthouse keepers who decide which ships can enter the harbour. In prestigious enclaves like Southport or the quiet streets of Mermaid Beach, a real estate agent's most valuable asset isn't their billboard in the town centre or their follower count on social media. It is their black book. This is a physical or digital ledger of the most motivated, capable, and, crucially, the most trusted buyers in the country. To the gatekeeper, a name in this book isn't just a lead, it's a verified entity. They know who is looking for a 6-car garage, who needs a deep water mooring for a 70-foot yacht, and who is willing to pay a premium for a north-facing aspect without the need for a public spectacle. The best properties in the Gold Coast are often matched with these individuals before a single photograph is even taken. It is a symbiotic relationship where the agent protects the seller's privacy while delivering the buyer an exclusive opportunity they won't find on any screen. Accessing this requires a shift in mindset. For the insider buyer, navigating these relationships can be a full-time job, which is why the role of the buyer's advocate has become so central to the Gold Coast's luxury landscape. Currently, it is estimated that roughly 80% of successful off-market transactions involve a professional advocate. These specialists are the bridge between the buyer's ambition and the agent's secret inventory. They are not just looking for houses, they are hunting for value in a market that often feels impenetrable. Because they deal with the gatekeepers daily, they have a level of rapport that the average buyer simply cannot replicate. When a gatekeeper agent receives a call from a reputable advocate, they know the conversation is serious. There is no time wasted on tire kickers or window shoppers. The advocate brings a level of professional decorum and financial certainty that moves a buyer from the back of the queue straight to the front row, ensuring that the insider is always the first to hear about a fresh opportunity. It is a game of trust. This hidden machinery operates within what many call the digital underworld of real estate. While the public is scrolling through broad reach portals, the real action is happening in private WhatsApp groups and encrypted internal agency vaults. Imagine a coming soon blast that never actually comes to the public. Instead, it circulates within a closed circuit of elite brokers and their preferred clients. These digital notifications are the lifeblood of the off-market scene, offering a 48-hour window for an insider to make a move before a property is even considered for wider release. In many cases, the deal is signed and delivered within these threads, leaving the public completely unaware that a landmark property was even available. To get on these lists, a buyer must do more than just ask. They must demonstrate a consistent presence and a clear intent. It is a process of building a profile that says you are a closer, not just a curious bystander looking for a weekend distraction. However, there is one non-negotiable law that governs entry into this inner sanctum: the finance ready rule. You will never see a quiet listing unless you can prove you have the means to act immediately. In the high-stakes Gold Coast market, gatekeeper agents have zero tolerance for ambiguity. They require proof of funds or a solid pre-approval before sharing a private floor plan. This isn't just about qualifying the buyer, it's about protecting the seller's privacy and the agent's professional reputation. To be finance ready is the ultimate currency. It signals that you can bypass traditional finance hurdles and move with necessary speed. Without this status, the doors to the most exclusive estates remain firmly shut. The secret market waits for no one. And the insider knows that preparation is the only key. Entering this secret world brings its own set of unique challenges that the public buyer rarely considers. The most significant is what many call the price transparency trap. In a standard sale, the market is a loud, visible entity. When a property goes to auction, the price is validated in real time by the presence of other bidders and the final fall of the hammer. However, in the quiet market, that external validation vanishes. Without a crowd to gauge, the insider faces a dilemma. Is the asking price a fair reflection of value, or a premium for the privilege of privacy? This is where the partnership with a buyer's advocate becomes critical. To avoid overpaying, the advocate must dive into proprietary databases of historical off-market transactions, comparing the secret offer against the true, uninflated values of the Gold Coast Strip. This ensures the insider's capital is protected even when the price is shielded from public view. Navigating these shadows also requires a high-speed approach to due diligence. In a typical campaign, a buyer has weeks to arrange inspections, but the quiet listing moves on a much tighter timeline. When a gatekeeper agent shares a private file, there is an unspoken expectation of a rapid response. This creates a high-pressure environment where the insider must be faster and more thorough than the average purchaser. There is no time to wait for a building and pest inspector who is booked 3 weeks out. The insider maintains a vetted team, solicitors and engineers, who are ready to mobilize within hours. Whether assessing the structural integrity of a main beach penthouse or checking jetty permits on a sovereign island's estate, the investigation must be exhaustive. The risk of a private disaster is just as real as a public one, and speed can never be an excuse for a lack of scrutiny. Despite these hurdles, the reward for navigating the quiet market is the profound benefit of zero competition. Away from the frantic energy of a Saturday morning auction in Burleigh Heads, where the emotional pressure of a crowd can push bids far beyond logical limits, the quiet listing offers a sanctuary of calm. There are no competing paddles, no ticking clocks, and no theatrical pressure from an auctioneer. This environment allows for a strategic, rational negotiation. The insider and the private seller engage in a direct dialogue, focusing on the merits of the deal rather than the fear of losing to a rival. It turns a high-stakes transaction into a calculated chess match. This lack of public friction often leads to a more favorable outcome, as the insider can maintain a clear head and stick to their predetermined valuation without the noise of the open market interfering with their judgment. This quiet space is also where the insider finds the unicorns of the Gold Coast. These are the properties that aren't technically for sale, but could be unlocked for the right price. Imagine an original beach shack on a double block along Albatross Avenue, held by the same family for decades. These owners aren't looking for a public circus, but they might respond to a discreet offer that respects their legacy. By operating off-market, the insider identifies these rare, hidden gems before they ever reach the radar of a developer. It is about finding a unique asset, perhaps an unrenovated gem with panoramic ocean views, and securing it through a private, respectful conversation. These properties represent the true, long-term value of the Gold Coast, offering a level of exclusivity and future growth that simply doesn't exist on standard portals. Finally, the insider understands that the quiet listing provides unique negotiation leverage. The private seller often has motivations that go beyond just the highest possible price. They may be a public figure seeking a discreet exit due to a change in personal circumstances, or an investor who values a specific settlement date to align with global financial movements. Because there is no public days on market counter ticking down, the pressure shifts. The insider can offer terms that appeal to the seller's specific needs, like a flexible move-out date or a cash unconditional offer, in exchange for a more favorable price. In the world of high-end off-market prestige, the terms of the contract are often just as important as the numbers on it. By solving the seller's need for privacy in an environment where discretion is the ultimate currency, the insider effectively secures the ideal deal on their own strategic terms. As the sun sets over the Pacific, casting long shadows across the high rises of surfer's paradise, the horizon of Gold Coast real estate is shifting toward a landscape where the digital and the discrete collide. We are witnessing a slow but steady migration toward a model that could eventually see the majority of luxury transactions occurring entirely within private networks. As marketing costs for premium public portals continue to climb into the tens of thousands of dollars, many sellers are questioning the necessity of a public campaign. Why spend a fortune to alert the world when a sophisticated algorithm or a seasoned gatekeeper agent can match a property with a qualified insider in seconds? This tech-driven matching process is the next evolution of the dark pool. Using predictive data to bridge the gap between high-net-worth sellers and finance-ready buyers without a single billboard ever being erected or a single open home being conducted. However, this evolution brings a new tension: the democratization of data. A wave of new applications and platforms is attempting to pull the off-market world into the light, promising to make these hidden gems accessible to the general public. Yet, there is a fundamental paradox at play. The moment a quiet listing is broadcast to thousands of app users, it ceases to be quiet. It loses the very essence of what makes it valuable: the lack of competition and the shield of privacy. For the true insider, these apps are merely another tool to be monitored, but they can never replace the human element. The most prestigious estates on Hedges Avenue or the most secluded hinterland retreats in Talabujera will always rely on the handshake, the personal referral, and the trusted inner circle of brokers who understand that true exclusivity cannot be downloaded from an app store. To master this invisible market, the insider must remain disciplined and focused. The strategy is clear and requires a relentless commitment to the process. It begins with deep research into specific pockets, from the soaring glass-walled penthouses of Main Beach to the sprawling, high-security estates of the Sovereign Islands. It continues with the appointment of a buyer's advocate who speaks the language of the elite and has the keys to the digital underworld of private WhatsApp groups and internal agency vaults. Most importantly, it hinges on the relationship with the gatekeeper agent. These professionals are the curators of the Gold Coast's most exclusive opportunities, and their black books are only opened for those who have proven their worth through reliability, speed, and absolute financial readiness. Being strike-ready isn't just a helpful suggestion, it is the non-negotiable prerequisite for entry into this silent arena. Ultimately, real estate in this sun-drenched corner of Queensland is about much more than what appears on a smartphone screen or a glossy brochure. The true narrative of the Gold Coast is written in the conversations happening behind closed doors, in the private threads of the city's top brokers, and in the quiet negotiations held in the shadows of the Burleigh Heads headland. It is a market defined by discretion, where the most significant moves are often the ones the public never hears about until long after the keys have changed hands. The Gold Coast dream isn't found by following the crowd to a frantic Saturday morning auction. It is found by stepping away from the noise and listening to the whispers that circulate when the rest of the world isn't looking. The challenge for the modern buyer is to stop being a spectator in a public arena and start becoming a participant in a private one. If you want to secure a legacy on Millionaire's Row or find that original unrenovated beach shack in Mermaid Beach before the developers do, you must change your approach. Stop scrolling through the endless recycled listings on public portals and start building your network. The best opportunities are not advertised. They are earned through trust, preparation, and the courage to operate where others cannot see. The gate is there, the secret market is active, and for those who know how to look, the true Gold Coast is waiting to be discovered. The future of your portfolio isn't on a map. It is in the next conversation you have with a gatekeeper. Reach out, get finance ready, and finally step into the quiet world of the insider.